What's up, hustlers? Aaron Gordon here, host of the Keep Hustling podcast, and I want to welcome you to our very special episode 100 of the Keep Hustling podcast. Before we begin, I just want to take a couple of minutes to introduce you to this episode and to give some thanks. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to you, the listeners. Without you, we wouldn't have 100 episodes. Without you, the dream of having the Keep Hustling studios, the merch brand, hearing from people all over the country and all over the world who are inspired to chase their hustle, to define their hustle and to chase their dreams, whatever those may be, inspires me and the rest of the team here at Keep Hustling to continue the podcast every single day. So first and foremost, thank you to you. Equally as important, and I'm equally as grateful to the guests that have given of their time to come and be on this podcast. You've heard from a diverse group of people, and on this episode, you'll hear some of our favorite moments from those interviews. We've heard from entrepreneurs, we've heard from health and mental health survivors, we've heard from coaches, celebrities, athletes, and everyone in between. And the one common denominator that goes through the entire Keep Hustling podcast is that everybody's story is different, yet everybody's story is defined by their hustle. What I've learned is that there's no one path to success. There's no one path to joy. There's no one path to happiness. And there's no one path to happiness in a person's own skin. And for me, as we pass episode 100, I'm extremely grateful to the guests who have given of their time, because equally as much, without them, we would not have a podcast. I'd also like to thank some of the people behind the scenes who you've never met, or maybe you have met and you don't realize how influential they are to me every single day into the podcast. First, you know my family. You've heard about them. My amazing wife, my children, my mother, my siblings. Without them, 100 episodes never would have happened. Our incredible production team. To Haley and to Johnny, my gratitude to you is endless. Johnny works tirelessly on our audio, and every single day you get to see me on the different social media platforms and the awesome YouTube channel because of Haley and her team. It's because of you and your hustle every single week, Haley and Johnny, that this podcast is actually a reality. To those who inspired me to start this podcast, and there's so many, you know who you are, and I am so grateful that you inspired me to go on this journey, and I know that this is just the beginning. Once again, to our listeners, I hope you enjoy this very special episode. Thank you for bringing us to episode 100. There's so much more coming at Keep Hustling. So make sure you follow us on all the platforms, embrace the lifestyle with your merch. And of course, as we end every single episode, do well by doing good and keep hustling. Welcome to Keep Hustling, where we are going past the why to get to the how. I'm your host, the always hustling Aaron Gordon, aka NY Risk Advisor, aka Mr. #Keep Hustling. In this podcast, we will be diving deep into the professional and personal successes of our guests to find out how they hustled through the most difficult times in their life and their development to achieve the success they've gotten to today. So buckle up for what hopes to be an amazing ride. Let's get to it. Adam Schefter. Adam, thank you so much for being here.
Aaron, my pleasure, my honor.
Where does that drive, that relentless drive for hustle come from?
It's a good question, Aaron. And I would say to you that it's just a professional pride. It's a caring. It's a competitive drive. Where does an athlete get the will to fight through would-be tacklers or to get that extra yard at the goal line? Like, everybody has something like that in a different way. Mine's not physical at all. To compel them to push forward and to continue to try to work hard and to do things that you wouldn't think are possible or that you're capable of. And again, it's just, you know what, my job matters to me more than it probably should. It's important to me. And when you're asking about that drive or competitiveness or whatever it is, it just comes from within, and it's hard to describe for anybody how whatever they're doing, where that spark comes from, but it's there, it's real, and it allows you to do the job that you do in any field.
Thank you, Bradley, for being on the show.
Thank you for having me, Aaron. I'm super honored to be one of the first few guests on here.
What do we need to know about the upbringing of Bradley Flowers that put you in that chair today with the Portal Insurance logo behind you?
Yeah, that's such a good question. Can I give a couple of examples?
Go for it.
So I grew up with a dad who owned his own business. So very, very early on, and my dad owned his own business. He purchased it in, I I want to say either a few years after or a few years before I was born. I think a few years after, which obviously was a big risk, and has run a successful company for over 30 years now. And then my grandfather on my dad's side was a salesman, career salesman. Picture what you think a career salesman looks and acts like. That was him. He sold everything from farming equipment to construction equipment to mobile homes. And one of my earliest memories of him, and we weren't super close in later years, but one of my earliest memories was he would take me up to the mobile home dealership that he worked at, very Alabama, right? And
We have all those in Queens, New York.
yeah, and he would walk out to deal with a customer, and he taught me how to answer the phone and what to say when I answered the phone. And so I think being exposed to sales and entrepreneurship, for lack of a better word, early, I think really shaped me. And then additionally, I went to a school that was heavily focused on athletics. There was 22 people in my graduating class, very small, very tight knit, and I was not an athlete. I was athletic. I just wasn't. I didn't really play sports. And I had a brother. My brother was the quarterback.
Yikes.
Everybody loved my brother. My sister was probably even more athletic than my brother. And so I was sort of like, not that my parents did this or anything, but like I was sort of the one that was just like kind of pushed to the side. You know what I mean? Brother made straight A's, sister made straight A's. I did not, to say the least. And I often think about how, and both of my brother and sister are successful, but I often think about my parents having conversations late at night and me being the subject, and then thinking, how did he turn out like this?
How did he turn out like this?
Yeah.
And how on God's good earth is he going to support himself one day?
But I think a lot of that, sort of chip, it gave me a little bit of chip on my shoulder, a little bit combined with the sales and exposure to business ownership and that sort of thing, really kind of propelled me to do some of the things that I needed to do. So I guess that's the best way to answer that.
Mario the Monk Trotta. Thanks for coming today, Mario.
Thank you for having me, brother.
What took you from being just Mario to the monk? How'd you get to that chair today?
So when I was a mortgage banker for 15 years, made a good living. I know I'm terrible with dates. I'm really bad with dates. So let's take it back. I wanted to get into shape, okay? And my best friend, Paul Winninghurst, was always an athlete. He's had abs since I've known him. And I had said, look, I'd come back from Bahamas, and I said, I would really like to get into shape. Would you help me, just kind of hold me accountable, just show me what you're doing, et cetera. So we started this little thing together where, he was just teaching me what to cook, exercises to do, things like that. And within 2 weeks, or about 2 weeks in, we went, I don't know, get a slice of pizza or something in Mount Vernon, Joe's in Fleetwood. And we ran into a friend of ours, little brother, name is Sean Smith. And, he was all cut up. He had veins popping out of his arms. And we're like, dude, what are you doing? You look amazing. And he's like, I'm actually in the infomercial, or I'm going to be in the infomercial for Sean T. Insanity. I don't know if you remember that program. So we're like, all right, that sounds pretty cool. What's that like? He's like, well, every day I go down to Rockefeller Center and work out in a gym with about 50 other people. Sean T leads the workout. And, every week we get our body composition taken by a nutritionist to make sure that fat is down, muscle is up. And when we leave the gym every day, we have 5 meals waiting, prepared for us. So we were like, that's actually sounds incredible. It's almost like you can't lose. And he saw how interested we were. So Paul and I went back to my house. We were just chilling out, and Sean hits us up and he's like, look, were you guys really interested in what I was saying? And we were like, yeah, it sounds amazing. He's like, well, could I come over right now and talk more? So he ended up coming over, and kind of gave us this pitch. Like, what if we put a small group of people together to kind of mimic what I'm doing in this infomercial and see if I could get the same results for you guys that I've been getting? Literally, Aaron, within 2 days, I mean, we had a gym, Phoenix in Tuckahoe, that allowed us to use their studio. We found a nutritionist, we found a chef, and we put a pilot group together of 10 people, friends, my brother, his brother. There was about 8 of us. And within 60 days, the results were just like insane. And we kind of started posting it on social, and everybody's like, yo, what is this? We want in. And we decided to launch a company called Fatburn. And that was the beginning.
Ciara Gravier. Thank you for being here, Ciara. Tell us what we need to know about your upbringing that led you to be the incredible influence on the industry and leader that you are today.
Well, thank you. I would say that as far as my upbringing was pretty chill, honestly. I was always a rule follower as a child. I still kind of am as an adult. So I think that's why I'm fit for insurance. I respect the rules and the boundaries. I've always been that way.
I am stale, and I'm okay
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah, I never I've never been really a risk taker, even as a child. I was always afraid of skipping school. I didn't want to disappoint my parents. So I'm pretty safe when it comes to that. And I was raised that way. And I think that's why I'm a natural fit, which is something that my husband tells me too. Sometimes he's just like, can you shut off your insurance brain, please? And not just expect that everything is going to go terrible. So I think that I landed in the right career because of that. I don't know. I guess I didn't think that I thought of doomsday or like everything was going to go bad, but he's the one that's just like, why do you always think that way? And I'm like, I think it's because of what I do.
Because I actually know what could go wrong.
Right. Because I always weigh out what can go wrong.
You don't know what happens if it rains for 20 more minutes than it should.
Exactly.
And your sump pump goes out. But I actually know what's going to happen.
Right. So I think I landed in the right career for that as far as that portion. But, my dad came to this country from Cuba when he was 14. My mom was born here. She's her family's Puerto Rican. But hard workers, my parents have always been hard workers, always going above and beyond, not just at work, but just for friends, family. I was raised in a way where you give more than you get. It's just, I'm sure it's a lot like yours, right? I know your parents hardworking. I'm very fortunate. I was raised by a dad that believes in me. Obviously, my mom does, right? But to be a little girl and have the backing of your father, knowing he raised me knowing anything I wanted to do, I could do. There was no difference in between my brother and I.
Zoli, thank you for being here. But tell us what we need to know about the upbringing of Zoli Honig that created the crazy hustler, not just the runner, that we know today.
Sure. So a quick intro. My name is Zoli Honig. I have a social media agency called Short Form Media. We specialize in creating viral content, usually around personal brands. So lawyers, executives, VCs, had a lot of real success with that so far. Only been doing this for about a year, but this is not my first company. This is probably my fifth. We'll go through all of them, I'm sure, maybe if we have time. But what caused that hustle to be like the guy who's just like startups, building your own thing, not the guy who wants the job? Where did that come from? So I think like early on, so I'm the oldest, right? I have 4 younger siblings, and thank God, I love my parents. They gave me the perfect childhood, like no complaints. Mom, Dad, I love you if you're listening. Everything's great. However, it's not like I had unlimited cash. I wasn't one of those kids who just like, whatever you wanted, you got. If I wanted something, I needed to work for it, right? I needed to earn the money. So it started with babysitting, and I'm like, oh my God, I can make $20 an hour for, just sitting in someone's house. That's awesome. Then it got into IT. I figured out how to use computers just on my own. And I'm like, oh my God, I can charge people to like fix their computers. And I remember even as like a little kid, I figured out how Napster worked. And I figured out how like file systems work. I think it was like...
Gen Z, just so you guys know, Napster was a thing in our childhood. I know
Yes.
Zoli and I were not that old, but one day you're going to look back and you're going to say something about some piece of technology and everyone's going to laugh at you. Napster was it. It wasn't like It was it.
Well, then it was LimeWire or Kazaa.
But Napster was it. Napster was, if you wanted illegal free video content or audio content, I think it was just audio. Was it video? Even?
Just audio. Just
audio. Right. I remember that's where you got all the rap music that your parents didn't
exactly
buy for you.
So I was a kid. I wanted to get some music. Right. I didn't have money for going into the store, so I would download them on Napster. And then I figured out, I'm like, oh, this is how file systems work, and this is how this. And then I just sort of self-taught because I was just I'm a very curious person. I'm always asking questions. I'm always pushing buttons. My mom hated that as a kid. I was always breaking things because I like to push all the buttons. Eventually, I learned how to not break it and fix it instead. Took a while. Thanks, Mom, for bearing with me while I did that. And then I was like, oh my God, I can monetize this thing that I figured out by myself because other people haven't.
Shlomo, thank you for being here today.
My pleasure. What's going on, people?
I'm very nervous.
I want you to think of think of a number between you know what? Before you do anything, I'm going to take your pen. Can I take your pen? Do you have a piece of paper? Beautiful. The show notes. I'm going to tear off a piece. Can I tear off a piece? I'm going to tear off a piece of show notes. Okay. I'm going to write this down. And everyone can see this on camera. I'm genuinely writing this down. Look at me. Are you a baseball fan, by the way, at all?
A little bit.
A little bit. Okay.
I am so scared.
I'll go here.
By the way, if you're listening and you're not watching on YouTube, make sure you watch this on our YouTube channel. Check out our socials because we're getting a live mind reading by.
Yeah, I'm just writing something down for those of you who aren't watching this and you're listening to this. First of all, what are you doing? Go watch it.
Go watch it.
But number two is
two of the best looking guys in America right now. Just throwing it down in the Keep Hustling studio.
I wrote down the name of somebody on this piece of paper. I don't want you to see who it is, but do me a favor. I want you just to pinch this right there in between your fingertips. Beautiful. You can hold it up. You can show the cameras. That is the prediction. A little white piece of paper. I wrote down something on there. I'm going to give that to you. Here's what I want you to do. In your mind right now, I want you to think of a number between 1 and 100. Any number. I want you to change your mind a few times. Make it super random. Okay? When you have a number, let me know.
Got it.
You have a number. Beautiful. In my phone, before you get to your number, I asked you if you're into baseball. I have a list in my notes that I took off ChatGPT. I wrote, give me the top 100 baseball players in random order. In a random order, and just mix it up. And I copy and pasted it and put it on my phone. For the first time ever, and I'll show the camera so they can genuinely see nothing weird is going on here.
This is regular phone.
This is my phone, my background, me and my wife. Shout out to my wife. I want you to do me a favor. You have a number in your mind?
Yes.
What number? You can tell everybody. What number are you thinking of?
24.
24. Okay. Keep me honest here. Okay. I will do absolutely nothing. Can you see my my notes app? Can you take my phone?
Yeah.
Can you see my notes app there?
Yeah.
Click on my notes app. I'll look down. I'm not going to look. Can you scroll to number 24? Oh, you see baseball players?
Baseball players, random order.
Yeah, so click that first list, and I want you to scroll down to number 24.
No.
Don't say who it is, but do you see a name there?
I see exactly who it is.
You see a name?
I know who it is.
Don't tell me who it is. You can put my phone down, shut it down. Okay? So you now have an athlete or a baseball player's name in your mind. Yes?
I hate everything about this.
But you have a baseball player's name in your mind. I gave you this paper. I wrote down one name on this paper. You chose a random number. So it's a random athlete. If you would have chosen a different number.
It's not even his number.
It's not even his number. Random order. Mm-hmm. If you would have had a different number, it would have been a completely different athlete. And all those people were different on the list. Yes, confirm that for the people.
Yes.
For the first time ever, tell everybody at home, who is the athlete that you're thinking of?
Aaron Judge.
Aaron Judge. Interesting. Out of all the baseball players on the list.
I'm not opening it.
I wrote down one name on that piece of paper.
No.
Show the people. What does that say? That says Aaron
it's not
Judge.
Focusing, but I'm telling you right now.
Here, that camera, maybe.
Aaron Judge.
There you go. Boom. That should give you. Yeah, they can see that.
Jacob, thank you for being in studio today.
Of course, Arwen, thank you for having me.
Where does that come from? Where does that just, I'm going to hustle, this is what I want to do, this is how I want things to be? Where does that come from?
Sure. I think it came from like me being in college. I felt like I wasn't really happy and relying on other people for success. I just kind of want to do things my own way and do things myself and find a way to be successful. And in 2022, that kind of all just came into resolution, we'll call it. It all just came into plan. Yeah.
Most people don't sit in their college dorms and say, "This is what I want to do." So meaning, you know what I'm
sure,
saying? Meaning,
yeah,
a lot of people are saying, "This, I want to work. I want to do this." Like you were sitting there saying,
I was sitting there saying, like, I'm done applying for jobs. Applying for jobs in 2022 was a nightmare. No one was hiring. Economy was weirdly inflated at that moment. And I saw an opportunity. And the opportunity is I started a company called Addictive Ads. And it's very simple. I use WhatsApp, which is like a personal communication tool. And in 2020, WhatsApp came out with this thing called Status, and was this little, I think, nudge or I don't know, competitive tool to what Instagram does or Snapchat does, or what you see from Facebook now, the little 24-hour temporary post. So WhatsApp started that. And I saw that. I'm like, this is really cool. It's a way to share with friends, or maybe just share thoughts. And 2022, I somehow came into the idea of like advertising. And I really don't necessarily remember like necessarily how it all came into fruition, the path how I got it. And I was like, let's just pay people to post ads on their status. So I paid 50 of my friends to say, come get paid to post ads on your WhatsApp status. From there, I must have gotten my first 300 people on my WhatsApp status being on the program being paid to post. And by me paying those people to post ads to say, come get paid to post, a lot of companies saw that. And they're like, this is a different way of marketing in the Jewish world. Because in the Jewish world, before Addictive Ads, there was a few main ways to advertise online. There's Yeshiva World News, the typical agency routes, JCN, to especially hit the more orthodox and let's call it more to the right world of Judaism communities, so Jewish communities. So that's what I did. And these companies, three companies had a lot of success. One company doesn't use me because they did too well. And that's also a problem advertising and hints about later. And two of them still use me today.
"Thanks for being here, Brett.
What is up, dude? Great to see you.
What do we need to know about the personal and professional upbringing that shaped Brett Young to who he is today?"
Oh man, let's see. I'll give you kind of a cliff notes. I grew up in a lower middle class household, and had the privilege of watching my parents become, probably in the later teens as I was going to college, more in the upper middle class from an socioeconomic status. So I watched my family go from some challenging times to not so challenging times, and I was able to kind of witness the things they did, what that looked like, the good, the bad, how they did it, paid attention. I got some really good lessons from them. They were always very transparent with just career advice, philosophy, ways of thinking, some of which I borrowed a lot from, some of which I didn't. It was a very corporate type structure in my household. That's how they obviously ascended to the next level in their progression as far as career path is concerned. My mom was a teacher, and she was an incredible teacher when I was in I was in elementary school. She was actually a teacher there, and then she became a principal. And then she was able to get a really cool opportunity to start Florida Virtual School, which became the first online virtual education platform in the country. And it became a massive organization with thousands of employees with a global reach. And she still to this day is considered the godmother of virtual education. And she was the CEO from that company. So to go from a teacher and to take that type of experience into a CEO role is one of the coolest stories ever. And I got to watch that transition. And one of the biggest components I learned from that journey is she was a culture freak. She was talking culture before even people knew what culture was. And she built this company with centered around the student, centered around the children and the kids that they served. And it was a really, really cool cohesive organization that she built. So I got to watch that, which is really, really cool. And then my dad was in sales. I watched him go from, entry level sales from IBM to become vice president of the largest division in the country with Sprint and Embark in the telecommunications business. And I got to watch, his progression in his career to perform at a really, really high level, leading a really big sales team. And then something happened for me that changed my life forever. As my dad got let go, and he was downsized at the pinnacle of his career, riding high, doing things he never thought he would do, and living the dream. And candidly, my dad was not necessarily the most soft, empathetic, guiding hand throughout my life. He was tough on us, and later in his career, you could tell that he really wasn't enjoying what he did. And so sometimes he would take it out on us, and he just wasn't necessarily happy. And so I watched the downsides of that, and not having the autonomy, and not having the joy, and not doing something that you love, doing something strictly for the money, and what that does to a family unit and to your kids and to you. And then I watched him, during the Great Recession, get downsized and in an instant lose your identity and be, 50s plus riding high to now unemployed. And what do you do? And what does that look like? And then I watched him take a path, and he went into financial planning. It was something he always wanted to do. He was a finance guy, very, very capable, had helped us save, taught me a lot of different things in investing. And he went and literally was knocking on doors. He was in I remember coming back home from college, and he had been, he'd been downsized. And I remember coming home, and he was in a white Oxford shirt with a tie, and it was midsummer in Orlando, 90 degrees, and he's knocking on doors, introducing himself, with Edward Jones. And so I watched this humility pie get thrown at him at the height of his career. And it was, if he was on this call, he would tell you it's the best thing ever happened to him. I feel like I got my dad back. He went from, just a completely different person, and he's built that business now up to where it's very successful. But I watched him kind of climb back and find his own identity in the midst of all that chaos. So that was really cool to me during that. It taught me a lot about what path I wanted to go. It taught me a lot about how, what did I want for my career, what I want for my life.
Welcome to Keep Hustling with my guest, Dave Levenger. People probably told you would have told you were nuts for like having a career in the creative, for lack of a better term.
I think right now in the world, if you take a leap of something you want to do, like if you have a talent and you want to make it a business, or a skill and you want to make it a business, right now, people will look at you the least weird and think you're crazy for taking that step. In 2019 or anywhere, but it's really that COVID that switched everything. Social media has become so oversaturated. But if you want to do something now, people will be like, go for it. You didn't hear go for it when I was in high school. You didn't hear, there's a way of doing life, and they call it realistic life. There's certain things you could do up until like you're married or in your 20s. And that was the way you did it. And there was that pressure for a long time that like, what if I want to do something out of the box? And I think there is something there, but the supportiveness was not there because the world just was not thinking in that direction. It was very robotic, very straightforward. And I was trying to get out of the straightforwardness, but like, I think I kind of hit what I wanted to do. And I wanted to, do this whole videography thing, like in 2020 or 2022, like it started to be more of like, people started to like the whole social media thing. The world's changed, right?
Josh, thank you for being here.
Aaron, thank you for having me, man.
What do we need to know about the upbringing of Josh York that led you to be the hustler that you are today and launch the most incredible company in Gym Guys?
I appreciate that, man. The upbringing, wasn't the best. Was actually wasn't good at all. But bad times create strong people. Good times create weak people. So you got to always make sure you put yourself through struggle. So growing up was not great, but honestly, I wouldn't change anything because it made me who I am today, and created a real resilient type of person that honestly can push through anything. And that's very, very important.
Thank you, Ryan, for being on the show.
Dude, it is my pleasure to be here.
What do we need to know? Anyone who checks the show notes or does some research on you or hits just a quick Google of Ryan Hanley will see the amazing path that you've taken, the interesting path that you've taken, and the success that you've achieved. and many people will admire that. But the question is, where did it all start? What do we need to know about how Ryan Hanley was brought up that led him to be the beast that he is today?
Yeah. So I've had to think about this a lot lately. I don't know why. The last few months have been tough for a bunch of different reasons. Nothing terrible, but just, things, challenges, things that make you think about things. And I came from nothing. Like, outside of being white, I had zero advantages. You know what I mean? Like, and look, as a white guy from the North, I would be an idiot to not say that, look, there are certain advantages to being a white guy. I believe that. And I'm tall. That helps a little bit, I guess. Take
very
those
tall.
two things
For
out.
the listeners, very tall.
Very
by the
tall.
way.
Yeah, very tall. I'm 6'4".
When you meet him in the airport, it's scary.
Yeah. So okay. So let's say I have those two advantages. My parents were divorced when I was 6. I was raised in a camp on a lake that when we first moved in didn't have heat. We used space heaters. My dad was a mechanic on the railroad. My mom was a receptionist. So we weren't like hungry, but we didn't have anything. I was raised in a town of 900 which had the third most polluted body of water in the state of New York in it. People used to say you could leave your doors open there because the criminals lived in that town. They didn't steal from that town. And everything about it was bad. It was every male was an alcoholic, or a pothead or worse, or just a deadbeat, surrounded by, people who lived in trailers who had it even worse than those of us who lived in homes. You know what I mean? So like, it was not a great place to grow up. My only other blessing, I guess, than the ones that I already described is that while my parents were dysfunctional to a certain extent, I got a tremendous amount of love. So they were both individually very good parents. So I did have that going for me, despite, like my dad went to jail 3 times while I was being raised. 3 different times. My junior, senior year of high school and freshman year of college, I didn't see my dad once because he was in jail. So like going to college, the day I came home and said to my mom, hey, I think I'm going to go to college, her response was, oh, that's great. There was no expectation, no conversation. It was like, if I didn't go, she would have been happy. I mean, I think she thought I might because I had talked about it, but like, if I didn't, whatever, I've had jobs since I was 12 years old. If I wanted money, like I used to go around and collect bottles at 4:30 in the morning on Thursdays at 10 years old.
David, thank you so much for being here. I do want to go back to the beginning and find out where your hustle comes from. But your message is one, I believe, that really aligns with the whole idea of our hashtag and the whole Keep Hustling movement. And that is that I think a person can define their own hustle. So how do you define hustle? And that doesn't have to mean burnout. What does hustle mean to you?
No, not at all. Even though early on in my career, it did mean burnout. But for me, it's the ability to enjoy the consistent every day, the persistent without quit pursuit of my own potential. Not what other people want from me, not what's missing, not what I don't have, but what I want. But if you're capable of enjoying that, you will understand what hustle is, and you will keep on hustling. You keep on pursuing your potential to do your best, learn lessons, and have fun.
Legend of New York City and beyond, Bob Knackel. Bob, thank you so much for being here today. The New York real estate business wasn't something that teenagers, even in New York, grew up saying, this is what I want to do. Yet you started at it, built this incredible business and this incredible legacy, but it had to come from somewhere. What was the drive to be the dominator of New York, for lack of a better term?
Well, I think, the business certainly has changed very, very profoundly over the years. When I started in the business in '84, commercial real estate was like a second, third, or fourth career for most people. Today, there are so many times I speak at colleges or do podcasts for colleges, and so many young people are really into real estate, and it's certainly become much more mainstream. Real estate investing used to be or Cowboys. There weren't that many institutional players that really were in it. Now it's a very mainstream institutional asset class. And I'll tell you, I got into the business completely by accident, very famously walking into Coldwell Banker thinking the place was a bank during spring break my freshman year, trying to get a banking job that would look good on my resume. They were the only ones hiring college kids for the summer. Took the job, loved it, went back my next 2 summers, and then started with CB in Manhattan when I got out of school. And I think that, it's always been part of my personality, I think, to go all in on the things I did. They say anything worth doing is worth doing well. I think I always subscribe to that.
Welcome to Keep Hustling with my guest, Dan Luxembourg. There were seeds that were planted. Where do you think that hustle comes from? We don't have to do the whole bio, but you're in LA. You have a certain view of what your career is going to be. And I tell everyone, read the bio. It's fascinating. And then you decide to pivot a little bit and really step up your hustle, start something, which we're going to get into, and do all that. But like, where are the roots? Where are the seeds?
Dude, the
like,
seeds
take us back to the hustle.
The seeds are in the seats of KJ, dude. Like we grew up on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, surrounded by unbelievable success, right? Material success, but success. And I always knew I wasn't going to fit the mold of like the lawyer, doctor, accountant. I always knew it. You probably...
Did your parents know it?
Everybody knew it. Everybody knew it. Always wanted to go into some form of storytelling. But I always had something to prove. I always felt like I had something to prove because I wasn't going down the traditional path. So what that meant was, okay, I need to be able to be on the same level of success, whatever that meant at the time, as everybody else on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. So I was just going to have to work a lot harder. That was it. And that train of thought kind of re-led me back to my love of Judaism, honestly, which is like, what does it mean to be a chosen people? It doesn't mean that like we're better than everybody else. It just, look at it now, right? With rising anti-Semitism, it just means we have to work a little bit harder. You don't have to whine, you don't complain, just work a little bit harder. And it truly is the biggest blessing in the world. Because I found the why. I was just asking you if you read Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, he was a leader of the Roman Emperor thousands of years ago. And there's a book on his meditations. He didn't think about them as meditations. It was literally his diary. But one of the lines he says is he admires one of his teachers for staying on the path rather than being kept on the path. And that line, man, you're told to do so many things when we're growing up. Do this, do that, be a better, Jew, be a better student, be a better XYZ. When I want it, like when I wanted to be a better Jew, when I wanted to be a better husband, when I wanted to be a better father, that's when I became the best version of myself because stuff happens.
Yaakov, thank you so much for being here.
It is a pleasure to be here. I'm excited. This is going to be great. Let's do it.
Your career, and especially your rise in media and evolution there, has to stem from somewhere. So we always try to kind of get back to the hustle. Like take us back to the upbringing or to when you started and kind of where you got this bug for inspiring people and educating them and inspiring their hustle personally.
Yeah, I have to thank my parents because being the youngest of 4 boys, and there's a little more of a gap between my brother Yitzi and I. And because of that, I had a lot more freedom when I was younger. So I got away with a lot more. And don't tell Yeshivas Chaim Berlin, we had a TV growing up. And my parents were pretty good about it, but to the point, like I would, they went to a wedding, this, that, like they're out. I watched a lot of TV and definitely not proud of it, but it's just something that happened. And it's definitely not my parents' fault. I was definitely mischievous in that area. And it definitely opened me up to just that world of just content and creation. And unfortunately, I didn't see that in the Jewish world. We had some stuff like when Zadie was young kind of tapes, but like nothing comparable. And it's interesting back then, TV, movies, it was even before the internet, but like once the internet came out, like these were all completely usser. And I understand that standpoint and I respect it. But as life moved on, and I think with the internet, we really just had this hole of like, okay, we have Torah, we have business, but like when it comes to some form of entertainment or even education, we didn't really have it. So I personally love that world of being a creator, and not to get spiritual on you, but I meant that's we're created in the image of Hashem. Hashem is the ultimate creator. So that process of creating, I love, and I used to do it when it came to like doing Camp Romu's newsletter or my yeshiva's newsletter. I would make comics in general. I made Snapchat stories and WhatsApp stories, and as of today, it's YouTube and podcasts, but who knows what it's going to be in 10 years from now.
Scott Howell, thank you for being on the show, Scott. What do we need to know about Scott Howell that's sitting right in front of me now, in front of us, or the listeners you're listening to, that has shaped you most about your upbringing, that got you to where you are today, sitting in that chair?
Well, I've kind of touched on this a little bit in other podcasts, but I think the thing that probably shaped me the most in my life relative to, bringing me up to today and owning an agency, owning now 6 agencies, because we are in the process of opening up finally after 15 years in my hometown that I grew up in. And I've told people I'm selling insurance to every son of a bitch in Hamilton, Alabama. You can get ready for that. That's happening. Because
is there a billboard? Is there a billboard with your face
Not
on
yet,
it?
but there probably will be. And the reason I say that is not to be arrogant or not to be cocky, but I will say this: take it any way you want to take it. But my family, and I'm talking about going back to my great-great-grandfather and his father, have built up a lot of capital, a lot of altitude in that town, and have always been model citizens, done what we're supposed to, contributed in a positive way. My dad has been the municipal judge in Hamilton, Alabama for going on 15 years. My sister and I both graduated college there. She's one of the best lawyers in America, works for the largest law firm as a partner in the world. And I tell people all the time, she got all the brains and looks in the family. But we have built up a lot of capital there. And I have been very thoughtful in not doing that. I know a lot of people are listening to this right now and they're like, well, why the hell did you wait 15 years to do that?
That was going to be my next question.
And the answer to that question is very simple. I had people that I loved who were my mentors, that one owned really the only game in town as far as an independent insurance agency. He was a mentor of mine, and he was like a father to me. And it always kind of sat sideways with me that I would go in there and start taking business from them, because damn well that's what would have happened.
All right, hustlers, that brings us to the end of another fantastic episode. Thank you for listening. The listeners are the most important part of this show. If you like what you heard, please leave us a review wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more listeners. Plus, be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. We have some amazing guests and topics lined up for you, and we don't want you to miss out. And finally, if you have any suggestions, comments, or even just want to say hello, please feel free to reach out to us on all social media platforms. We are Keep Hustling Pod on Instagram, X, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We would love to hear from you to continue the conversation. Thanks again for tuning in and supporting our podcast. We truly appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, stay curious, stay hungry, and keep hustling.